On the air. Welcome to the Hispanic Patriot, once again from Woodland Park, Colorado. With me, I have Representative Rebecca Ross Keltie from District 16. Uh, and Rebecca was um, shall we say, a firecracker at the special session and during the regular session. They typically and regularly try to censor her, but Rebecca will have none of that. Yeah, so welcome to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Your first appearance.
My first time.
Yep. So you're a rookie. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell the audience what you've been up to, why you did the insane thing of running for state representative.
You talked me into it. Well, I'm from the Colorado Springs area, so my district 16, is from Dublin to Platte, 25 to North Academy, and then at the very bottom it goes over to Powers. So it's gerrymandered really well for the Democrats, because they took it from a red district and made it into a very, very, very purple district. So, which is why the fight for that district was to the skin of my teeth. So, but we did it, and we got the liberal, progressive, Marxist, leftist rep that was in there. We got her out, and with my race, we were actually able to prevent or take away the supermajority from the Democrat Party that was in there at the time.
So that was going to be one of my questions. Has that district always been Republican? And so you ousted a Democrat in your race.
I did.
Correct.
Yep, and that was the first Democrat that actually had ever been in there in the history of HD 16, and it was devastating when she won, because it's like we saw the slip of power, but then once you saw the gerrymandering that went on, you can understand exactly. They knew what they were doing. So
absolutely.
But
they're really good at doing that.
One state at a time, though. That's how we kick Colorado back. Is one
Funny
state at a
how
time.
They don't like it when Republicans do it, though. They only like it when they do it.
Well, of course, because their ideas are better, right? Isn't that how it works?
Well, that's what they think. They think government is the answer to everything. We know different.
No.
We are for smaller government. We are for less regulations. We are for freedom to take advantage of whatever opportunity this country affords you.
Yeah.
And we are not anti-immigrant, unlike what your people on the left are telling you. We are anti-illegal immigrant, which is a huge distinction.
Yeah.
And that's important to point out. We're engaged in trying to grow the Hispanic base in the party. President Trump has led the way, including turning up to, I believe it was 8 counties in Texas from blue to red. Counties, I remember one county had been Democrat for 150 years.
Wow. In Texas, I never thought I'd ever hear that.
Yep. Well, these were all counties along the border
for
the most part. But the Democrats were absolutely shocked when that one county in particular went red. So it's it's a matter of messaging. I think that the president spoke the truth. Hispanic voters listened and they responded. And I believe more and more are flocking to our party. The problem, as we see it at this podcast, is that the hierarchy of the party does not fully recognize, I'd say. They somewhat recognize and they pay some lip service, but they don't fully recognize the importance of the Hispanic vote to this party in the state. So you've served with different representatives. I'm assuming you've served with some Hispanic representatives.
Oh, absolutely.
And what do you get as a sense of where they stand and how they feel about the Republican Party?
Well, to start off, my mother's an immigrant, so she's an immigrant from Germany. So she came over with my father
Okay.
during the Korean War or after the Korean War. So, I understand the importance of legal immigration. Adding great people who want great things for the country. Who my mother assimilated. She wouldn't even teach us German because she said in her broken English, she's like, you're American, you speak English, that kind of thing. So back then, you're talking, back in the 50s,
Right.
things were a lot different. Right now, I serve with Representative Barone and Gonzalez, and they are wonderful. Their families are, I think Representative Barone was born in Mexico, and they're all for legal immigration. They realize that the positive outcome of someone who wants to come here and do good things, and they're proud of themselves the way they come into the country. When you break the laws right from the get go, it's that kind of says exactly who you are.
Right.
And for him, he's a very proud American. They both are very proud Americans, and they want things done the right way.
Okay.
And he will tell you every single day.
So this conference was planned a while back. We had Charlie Kirk, I believe, was the headliner for this event. I remember hearing about it about 2 months ago, actually. And the people from the conference were kind enough to reach out and invite us to bring our podcast to the event. And so everything was provided to us, and we accepted. So this is actually our first, what I would call, remote broadcast location. We hope to do more, but we wanted to come and get the word out about the podcast, get people interested in the podcast and helping support it and helping it grow, because we can be a voice to that Hispanic community that is just waiting for the right messaging. Because I think that the messaging from our side has been poor, in the sense,
I agree.
In the sense that it has the Republican Party, not just Colorado but nationwide, allowed the left to identify it, to basically label it and identify it, and there was no pushback.
No.
And so when you talk to a lot of Hispanic voters who basically are conservative people, they live very conservative lives, they're hardworking, they're family, they're faith-based, and a lot of them own businesses because, little known secret, Hispanics start businesses at a faster pace than any other demographic. And that includes all of these, the demographics. So when you dissect that, you understand that they're entrepreneurial, they want the opportunity. They don't want special treatment, unlike what some people within our own party have told me. They think, well, we don't play identity politics, or we don't want to, we don't think that people should be treated differently. I have never heard a Hispanic say we want to be treated differently. They just want the same opportunities that everybody else has, and then get out of the way. We'll take care of the rest.
That's very Republican of them.
Exactly.
That's very Republican of them.
So this is the dilemma that I've had, and I've been in Colorado since 1999, came from Texas. We helped turn Texas from blue to red, and I know it can be done, okay? And it was done in a very systematic way. It was done by talking to the people like they had a brain, like they had an opportunity to have a voice. And this state, I think, was fairly red when I got here. Some would say purple. I don't know, because we had the governorship, we had the House, the Senate.
Sounds red to me.
So that's pretty red. So, but
and things were a lot better back then, weren't they?
Well, they were for the first 5 years that I was here. It was pretty good, and then it started that slide.
Yeah.
The dreaded Rocky Mountain heist and the blueprint and all this other stuff started happening, and Republicans were like running in place. It was like they were on a treadmill and doing a lot of motion but getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And the Democrats just came right whizzing by and took over.
The Republicans slept. They slept. They got too complacent. They got too comfortable.
Yep.
And I tell you what, that's bad, because crazy never sleeps.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It never. Or sorry, crazy never rests. So neither should we.
Yep.
And I think we took the eye off the ball, and we have to get it back on there, and we should never take it off again. Colorado, in 2016, was the third best state to move to in the whole United States.
Yeah.
It was safety and education, and it was great. And then the Democrats took over. And once in the last 9 years, we went from the third best to the 19th. And now we are number 2 in the whole United States for crime. The worst crime in the whole United States is Colorado. Yeah. That's shameful. Absolutely shameful.
But our illustrious governor will sit there with a straight face and say, "Oh no, crime is under control. Crime is going down." And all these Democrats get on the microphone, and these people like Kyle Clark just lap up everything that they say. "Oh, crime is under control. Statistics show that crime is down, blah, 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 blah." And people just sit there and accept it as gospel and don't push back.
Do you know what that's called? Lies.
Yeah, lies. Exactly.
Just lies.
Exactly.
Anyone can lie to you. And it's up to the people to actually find the truth and learn the truth. Look at the history. And that's all you have to do. And, I think once we get a new governor, hopefully to be a Republican, we need a shift. We need a shift change in Colorado.
We do.
But it's up to the Republicans and conservatives to do it, right? There's 22 of us in the House. We can't do it by ourselves.
No.
We need everyone, all hands on deck. Run for office, run for school boards, run for a city council. We need Republicans everywhere, conservatives everywhere.
Well, that's what we're in Denver. I don't know if you know, but I'm the sitting interim chair right now in Denver. I was vice chair, Denver GOP.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I was vice chair, and our chairman, her son, contracted cancer, and so she's been on a leave of absence. So I'm the interim chair. We don't know if she's going to make it back, but we'll see.
Oh, bless her.
But her son lives in Texas, so her and her husband, packed up and went down there to be with him. He's in the Air Force. He's a pilot, and so he's going through chemo, and we're hoping that he makes it.
Family number one, right? Family comes first.
Absolutely. So. But in Denver, we adopted a theme called common sense. Back to common sense.
Oh, okay.
And we revamped. We completely redid our website. We've done a lot of upgrading with regards to reaching out and making sure we fill our captain. In fact, this Wednesday we filled our last district with captains, so we have no captain vacancies in Denver now.
Outstanding.
And now we have to work on the vacancies at PCP. So that's what we're doing. But I personally feel like this cycle presents such a huge opportunity for Republicans. And if they play their cards right, there's no reason why we can't take home some seats in both houses this next session.
We can.
We may not take the majority, but we can make some inroads and start putting a dent in what the Democrats are doing. And if we're successful with the governor's race, then we'll have a ally in the state house.
Yep.
The governor will lead the way, whichever one gets elected. We have some good candidates, and I think we have too many, to be honest.
Oh, for governor?
Yes.
There's too
I
many.
think
We need
it's
to
like 14 or 15. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but I would say maybe 4 or 5 are semi-viable or viable or semi-viable. And now we've got
I don't know
help
why we
us,
do. Why do we do
Senator
that?
Barbara Kirkmeyer jumped in.
There's
Yep.
too many. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why we do that. You know, Republicans constantly do it, where Democrats concentrate on one guy and they all pour everything all into that one person.
Yep.
And the Republicans, for some reason, I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's,
I think
you
it's
know,
partially ego, but I think it's, I don't know. I think it's partly lacking the organization from top down.
yeah.
And right now we're suffering the results of, I really think, poor leadership. And we've got to turn that around. We've got to make sure that the state party does their job, and then each of the county parties do their job.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Republicans are very independent thinkers, right? So we independent think, and where Democrats are very group thinkers, right? They think like sheep. So not that we're not sheep, but we do need to start coming together with our thinking, and as far as devising plans, strategical plans, you know, a plan of war, because we are at war, and if we don't get it together, we will not. We can't be divided and win. Right? We have one common enemy, whether we like each other or not, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
You know, we have to focus, people focus. And once we do that, I think that we'll start taking things back. But put your feelings aside. I don't do feelings. Get them out of there.
So that segues into the youth vote. And with this tragedy with
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this gut feeling, is all I can call it right now. But, you know, the saying, they meant it for evil, God means it for good. And I firmly believe that God had his hand on this. I firmly believe that the youth of America are going to be deeply impacted. In fact, we're already seeing signs of that.
Yeah.
And this seminal moment in our history will be a point where people can point back to and say, that's when America started to turn around. Our youth are starting to engage. Unfortunately, our youth have not been voting. A lot of them were vocal, but a lot of them don't vote.
Yeah.
And so now with this situation, I think we're going to see a flooding into the political realm.
You're going to see a turning point.
You're going to see a turning point, which has been pointed out already. It couldn't be a more appropriate name. And this whole thing is going to result in a big backfire for the left. They think that they silenced a voice, but I like to quote famous people, and not necessarily a great person because he was a Japanese general, but General Yamamoto, right after Pearl Harbor, clearly said, "We have awakened a sleeping giant." And that's what I think this incident will be in our history. It'll be another moment where it has awakened a sleeping giant, meaning the youth movement, because the older generation is phasing out. We need that generation of youth now to step up and say, it's time for us to start making a difference and being involved. And so what are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
I think the youth, like I've seen a change in them already, what Charlie was able to do, what he had been working on. And I think that he was stirring the pot for change. I think our youth are going to be for him, at least I know for sure. They will be his avengers.
Yep.
They will avenge him. And I'm so proud of the work that he did. I'm proud of the hearts and the minds that he touched. He didn't just, go out there and spew things. He wanted to have that dialogue. Because I think and I think the way he meant it and the way I see it is, if you can get someone to see your side, understand the other side, you crack into that outer, that coating, that shell, and once that shell is cracked, it's cracked.
Yep.
So and he was so good at that, and he was able to keep calm, and he just whittled away, and he brought logic, common sense, facts, truth, and you can try to argue with that. But believe me, I'm in the state legislature. I see them trying to argue with common sense all the time, and believe me, they're wrong all the time. But he did it in such, he brought the truth. He brought the common sense to the next generation, and that is the dragon that is awakened.
And
So
I attribute that accomplishment to his strong faith.
yeah,
Because I have heard people that knew him closely that said that, we know the public Charlie Kirk, the one that's out there fighting for truth and liberty and facts versus fiction, and trying to help young people who's, like Rush used to say, are skulls full of mush. And he meant it in a good way.
yeah.
What he was saying is basically their mental capacity is not developed yet.
It's moldable.
Yeah, so this is what Charlie saw. That's why he concentrated on the college campuses, because they are the indoctrination factories.
Yeah.
This is where you have a lot of Marxist professors and other educators. I think, universities and colleges are nothing more than indoctrination factories now,
Anymore?
except for,
Yeah.
barring the faith-based ones and the ones that are, teaching the Constitution and that kind of thing. But this is what I think will be the driving force. And it's already started from what I'm reading. People have signed up to join Turning Point. They're volunteering. They want to say, no, it's not going to end like this.
It can't end.
And they will be the voice that Charlie inspired. So they think they silenced the voice. They didn't. The movement cannot be silenced.
No.
And I think it's going to be a tremendous backlash against the left in this coming election. So we can pray for that, but we want to encourage people that are out there to talk to the youth, to reach out to them now more than ever and say, is this how you want to be represented? They silenced one of yours. And this man was out there, and he was all about truth. He was all about facts. It wasn't about rhetoric. It wasn't about agenda. He had no agenda. His only agenda was to make sure that the truth got out there.
Right.
And he debated college professors, and made them look, uneducated.
Oh, I saw him debate in England. He went to other countries to debate.
I saw the one in Cambridge, England. Is like, it was amazing. These little, what I would call little self-described geniuses were coming up there, and they were trying to sound all important and quote on. And Charlie would listen patiently, and they said, "Are you done?" and then he would rebut, and he would break down everything. It was amazing to me, his acumen, the way his
brain.
His brain worked
smart kid.
Incredibly different than mine does, for sure. I get confused if somebody gives me 4 or 5, topics in a row. I got to try to remember the order and the topics. But man, he was like that, and everything was right on point and irrefutable.
Irrefutable.
It was irrefutable what he would hit them with, and they would be like, he would leave them speechless.
And he was cocky and he was confident, but because he was right.
Exactly.
When you're right, you can be as cocky and confident as you want.
But he was cocky in a loving way.
Oh, yeah.
He was not.
Oh, he was never nasty.
He was never nasty
No,
or mean to anybody. He just put them in their place in appropriate manners. So,
Yep.
so that's what I think it inspires me. We're just a little over 2 days after the incident. Thank God they've caught the individual, and I hope that they uncover more people, because I think more people are involved.
You know, and that's when you bring up the other kid. He's 22 years old.
22.
You know that he's kind of a victim in some of this because of the indoctrination that they've gone
no
through.
doubt.
And it's not just in the colleges anymore. It's all the way down to elementary school.
Mhm.
You've got where they want to tell a 5-year-old that he's a she and she's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane to me.
The pronoun movement, the woke, the CRT.
These kids have no chance.
Yep.
When the poor parents, they just want to go to work and have their kid go to school and learn the reading, writing, arithmetic, and maybe play a sport and come home.
Yep.
But they, even like in my district, I have D11 in my district, and there was a teacher at one of the school board meetings. She stood up and she was all upset about us wanting to, talking about maybe possibly removing the porn from the school libraries, just, crazy things like that.
No, we can't do that.
And and so
Kids
she's
have a right
like,
to see
well,
porn.
I have my own, library in my classroom. Good luck getting those books out of my classroom. She goes, I'm an activist first and a teacher second.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she needs to be unemployed is what she needs to be.
Yeah.
So, but that's the kind of people that we have that have infiltrated into the schools all the way down to kindergarten.
Yep.
And and that's the problem. So this poor kid grew up in all that, and then he goes to college and he gets even more indoctrinated, and the false narratives and false agendas and all this stuff. It's just their brains can only handle so much. And,
Well, they were saying
he did wrong. He did wrong, and
Yep.
he needs to pay for what he did. I'm not saying he shouldn't, but I'm just saying there's other people who are at fault at this. It's not
Yes.
just him.
Well, his family, they were interviewing, I guess, some of the family during the process, and a couple of his family members said that over the last, I say, couple of years, they said they saw a change in him, that he was never political before, and then all of a sudden he was.
Yep.
And he went from one extreme to the other. Okay, he went from being virtually not involved to someone buying and repeating all this rhetoric that he had been fed and taught.
He was groomed and indoctrinated. That's what
Exactly.
he was.
And so, the words that come out of these people are like, it's like rote memory. They repeat it. Nazi, fascist, homophobe, racist. All these things are planted in there. And I know right away when I'm debating somebody that's been indoctrinated, because their vocabulary is all the same.
Yeah.
They hit you with these. I went to I remember going last year to the Centennial dinner for the party. You were there?
I was there.
Yeah, at that place in the Springs. And myself and Tig and a couple of others were standing outside where the protesters were forming.
Oh, yeah.
And then this whole group went from one side of the street came the closest. So we all walked up to the sidewalk on the edge of the parking lot. And these people, this one guy, he must have been, I'd say, Nick's age or younger, but he was totally mind blown. We got, I think, within 10 feet of him. I was filming them and just kind of taking their picture and laughing at them and stuff, and they hate that. And he started yelling, "Nazi!" at the top of his lungs, and he would just continue. He wouldn't stop. He was yelling, I mean, literally at the top of his lung, within 10 feet of me. And I'm sitting there smiling, and the more I smile and laugh, the worse he got. So it was like, but that was a good example of what these people are. They, the one guy, I thought the whole highlight of the whole thing was when this one guy was calling Tig a traitor.
Traitor.
Yeah, a hero of Benghazi.
Yeah.
And I looked at the guy and said, "Do you know who this guy is?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I know who he is. Who is he?" "He's a traitor."
So no, you don't know who he is.
I said, "So no, you don't know who he is." So and this was an older guy. This wasn't one of the younger ones. This was, I'd say, middle-aged guy that was arguing all this stuff about how Republicans were just, evil and they were trying to take away their rights and that we were fascists and all the typical words. When he said fascist, I said, "Can you give me the definition of a fascist?" And he stopped him in his tracks.
Of course we can.
You're a fascist.
I wonder what rights we're trying to take away. Last time I checked, we're trying to protect all their rights.
That's right. Yeah. What rights? What rights are you
losing? We're trying to
losing?
protect their kids. We're trying to make sure that babies live. We're trying to give their kids, make sure they get good quality education. Make sure the parents can raise their own children. Imagine that.
But this is the environment that we're in, and now we're moving. As soon as these local races are over this November, in about a month and a half, then the cycle starts for 2026.
Correct.
And the midterms are important. Our state races are important, and we've got to be focused. And so we've got to bring in that youth vote and the Hispanic vote. If we do both of those, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that we can win a lot of these races here in Colorado.
I agree.
Including the governor.
We had in our presidential race, 30% of Republicans didn't vote. Yep. 30%. And then there's even less. I would say, I think it goes all the way down to like 60% don't vote in the midterms. And that's where we lose every time is the midterms. Yep. If the Republicans would just get off their behinds.
And the primary is even worse.
Take that little piece of paper that you filled a little bubble out on and put it in a little box. Yep. You'd be good. That's all we're asking you to do. We're not asking you to, I got some yard work that needs to be done, but
nothing more frustrating.
I'm not asking that. I'm just asking to fill out a piece of paper and put in a box.
In a state that is 100% mail-in ballot, there's absolutely disgusting to see people sit it out or not vote. The primaries is even worse. 80% of Republicans don't vote in primaries.
Yep.
And these are the same people now that are fighting against the opt-out movement because they think you're going to disenfranchise. I said, when you can show me that 80 or 90% of registered Republicans are voting in primaries, then maybe you have an argument. But right now, you have a pathetic average of around 20% who participate, and then the other votes are coming from unaffiliateds and Democrats who crossed over. Okay, so don't give me this nonsense about how we're going to disenfranchise unaffiliateds. Because my first question to those people is, who unaffiliated them?
Right, 100%. Yeah.
Who unaffiliated? Did somebody rush into their house, tear your door down, and hold a gun to their head and said, "Sign here, you're unaffiliating"?
Well, Jenna Griswold did a little bit on her own, so she kind of made some people unaffiliated.
Oh yeah.
But and that's the thing is like they complain about the general election. Look, I don't like the candidates. Yeah, but you get to choose the candidates that you want in the general in the primary. Yeah. So if you would just vote in the primary, you actually have an option to have good candidates in the general. So again, get off your butts.
That's it.
And Republicans want to be left alone, right? They want to be left alone. They want to raise their families. But the thing is, the Democrats, the leftists, they're not going to leave you alone. They're not going to stop. They're not going to leave you alone, no matter how much you want to be left alone. So please just get into the fight with us, because otherwise,
so we have a list.
Let's move to another state.
We have a list, and we're going to have a list. So I jokingly said recently to someone, I said, what if we prepare these one paragraph notes that will be delivered to every single Republican who doesn't vote in the election? And we'll know because we have the data. So we could literally send all these people a one paragraph note. Thank you for not voting. Now shut the hell up.
Yeah. Or actually, you could say, thank you for not voting. Love the Democrats.
Yeah.
How about that?
That one's even better. Yeah, but yeah, I always get a kick out of people who are the most vocal when you ask them, did you vote? No.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't have a voice. You gave up, you forfeited your voice. You have no right to complain. If you're going to complain, you better have voted. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it.
What's a complaint? What is a complaint without action?
No.
It's
Exactly.
whining. It's just whining.
Yep.
Right? And we don't have time for whiners.
So anyway, glad you got to stop by. We wanted to have a word with you.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts you want to give to our audience?
Final thoughts. I guess I just really want people to join the fight. I just want us to please help us take back Colorado. It's such a beautiful state. It's lost at this point. But until you actually help us make the change, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
So, and then we need to unite. We need, like I said before, Republicans, there's like 5 factions I know of in El Paso County of Republicans. And, they just need to put their differences aside for just a minute, just so we can get back on track.
Yep.
And if we don't try, we have one common enemy. And in a war, you don't have to like the person that you're fighting next to. But as long as you keep your eye on what the outcome that you want to be done is, then you guys can do anything. So we can fight side by side, no matter what, because we need to defeat the Democrats in Colorado. We must, for our sake, for our children's sake, and for our grandchildren's sake.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's lost. So
Well said.
help us.
That's right. So if you're out there, you got a primary, or we have if you're a Central Committee member, I'm sending you this message. Pay attention on the 27th of this month and understand the difference between opting out and not opting out. And if you do that, I have no doubt in my mind that you will choose to opt out. And that's what we need to do as a party. This is my personal opinion, nobody else's, so I have a right to say that. Okay, even as a party official, I do have a right to say, I speak my mind as a private citizen.
First Amendment.
Exactly. So
That's what we fight for.
So thank you, Rebecca, for stopping by. Enjoy the conference, and we'll see you the next time on the Hispanic Patriot Podcast.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.